and welcome to the Friday edition of the WynActive Webcast. We've had a great week talking to some sensational people, but we've got a really special guest for you today, and James will introduce Tom in just a moment. But as regular watchers of this know, my name's Barry and I'm from WynActive, and these webcasts are all about being a bit entertaining, a little bit informative, but having lots of fun as well. So I really hope that you're getting that out of it. But as always, the person that really holds these webcasts up, I want to introduce James Robertella. How are you, James?
Very good, Barry. Once again, pleasure to be here, and yeah, thank you to all the guests that have joined us the past week, and yeah, having a lot of fun with these ones. And I suppose we've had a real Wyndham flavour with all our guests recently, and want to continue that through the webcast. But we thought it's really important to get an understanding of what's happening and in-depth thinking and understanding of what's happening across Victorian community sport. And we're fortunate enough to have Tom Dixon, the Participation Strategy Manager from Vicsport, here today. Welcome, Tom, to the WynActive Webcast.
Hi, James. Hi, Barry. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, Tom, and thanks very much for coming on. Vicsport, I think it's a really well-known body, but not well-known as in what you do and what you achieve and how crucial you are to the sporting and recreation industry. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, certainly. So Vicsport is the peak body for sport and recreation in Victoria. So we work very closely with the State Government Department, Sport and Recreation Victoria, and also Vic Health. And look, a lot of people often think we're part of the government, but we are a separate, independent membership body. And we work more at the state level. So we support local governments, but also state sport associations, regional sports associations, and other groups. A big focus of our work has always been governance and supporting sport organisations to have effective governance in place. We also do a lot of work in areas like policy, and then my role come on board assisting with basic strategies. So very much trying to support the industry to to attract more people to enjoy sport education.
It's been fantastic, Tom, to I suppose see Vicsport take a real leading role in the COVID-19 situation that's been happening across the past weeks and months. I suppose one of that we've seen you run a series of webinars to bring local government, state sporting associations, and everyone in between together. I suppose talk to us a bit about those webinars and other things that you've sort of taken or other approaches you've taken during this particular time to assist the sport and recreation industry within Victoria.
Yeah, no, it's been really good. It's been an interesting time, and it's almost felt like our role has almost stepped up a little bit during this crisis. Our CEO, Lisa Haskell, has done an amazing job in having regular telephone calls with all of the sports CEOs and the government just to understand from when this started, just to keep that conversation going about what's happening and how we can support everyone. And the webinars actually came from, we originally had planned to do a local government forum in June. And then as we sort of talked about things more and more, we thought, well, what do people need? People actually just want to understand what we know from all our conversations, which is just what's happening across the sector. So we sort of morphed into running one webinar, and then actually webinars aren't too hard to put on. So let's do 3, cover a few different topics. And we had a really, really good response. I think the first webinar, when we put that out, had 200 people signed up within, a few hours, which is the biggest response I've ever seen to anything that we've put out there. I think it showed probably something we've adapted a bit is just having sort of more frequent communication with people. I think one thing the current pandemic has showed is that no one wants to assume what anyone else is doing or thinking. So you've got to be in constant communication with the stakeholders and understanding exactly where they're at pretty much week by week. and then providing relevant information as quickly as you can. And that's not something that is always very common in the way sport works. We're often a little bit slow moving with projects and funding. So I have seen a lot of change, not just in the way Vicsport works, but also in our members in just having a lot more just constant general conversations with key people and making sure we all understand how everyone is going.
Tom, what are you hearing back from your members? Obviously, there's concerns about starting up again, but is there a real concern about ongoing viability and sustainability?
Yeah, there definitely is. And we did a survey of sports and did some work with the state government around the financial situation of sports. And that's just being used at the government level to make decisions around funding and support. But yeah, I think there definitely is an ongoing concern about the viability of a lot of clubs. And also I think the pressure on volunteers when sport comes back, there's potentially that added layer of having to take on the role of cleaning facilities and having to think about different risk measures that need to be put in place to protect people's health and safety when they're there, and also as a way of assuring people and encouraging them to actually come back to sport. So yeah, there's a fair bit going on in that respect.
I was listening to the radio yesterday, and there was a discussion about community sport, and it's slowly coming back now. And I think we're allowed groups of 10 at the moment outside. But you know, you talked about the load on volunteers, and we need a COVID officer or a biosecurity officer. I'm not sure what the proper term is there, but you're right. That is another, I suppose, impost on the club. And most clubs, the few run the whole thing. Yeah. So what else are you hearing and about volunteers and how hard it's going to be for them?
I think each sport's quite different. I have heard that some leagues in football in some areas are talking about not even coming back this year, even if they're allowed to. Because I guess the other complicating factor for a lot of clubs is, yes, we might be able to do some training and some sport, but we can't necessarily host fundraisers and barbecues and functions and the kind of things that sport clubs love as well, as a way of connecting people. So I think one of the other big things that people are talking about is mental health. Actually, just trying to support volunteers, with their mental health and just support them to do what they can to get through this crisis. Coming back up to the CEO level, we have also been doing some work with some consultants who are psychologists and offering some support to all of the CEOs, because they're doing a tremendous amount of work in a lot of cases, having to stand down staff. So we're very conscious that who's actually looking after their mental health during this time. So trying to make sure we support them just to look after themselves. And I think that's something sport council is probably thinking as well. And rather than there is that conversation about, can we come back more innovative and take the chance to do things differently? And yes, it's a good opportunity. People want to, but I think most of all, let's just look after people and just help them to come back in a way that's feasible for each club.
I think you raise a really good point there around, those decision makers that they don't take these decisions lightly, and it's everyone's facing challenges, and some are more forward facing than others. So it's a great point that you raised, Tom. Going on to what you were saying, and what opportunities there are for sport Victoria wide off the back of this, and I think that's been some of the discussions on your webinars, and what you've been at the forefront of everything you do with Vicsport around trying to improve opportunities for people to access sport. What do you think some of the opportunities there are for state sporting associations, the various sports coming out of COVID-19? I suppose what does sport look like? And there's probably not a best answer for that one, but talking out loud, like, what are you sort of seeing for sport in the coming months and years?
Yeah, I think there's definitely opportunities to use things like social sport and modified sport, to engage people. But I think in some respects, what this event has done is that, to me, the core conversation around attracting more people hasn't really changed, because a lot of the stuff we've been talking about for a whole decade. It was 10 years ago that Sport Australia put out the market segmentation into Australian sport, and made people aware that a lot of people out there aren't loyal to clubs. They want things under 1 hour. They want flexible, short-term opportunities. And I think we've been having that conversation for a while about how can we offer something a bit different. And with the Doing Sport Differently stuff that we've been involved in, it's very much just about understanding people's barriers and just putting things in place to reduce the barriers, and just trying to offer a really good customer experience to people. So I think that's pretty much still the goal. Yes, a lot of sports and clubs will focus on getting back to, I think, the core business and the core sort of competition or elements of whatever they do first before coming back. But perhaps there is an opportunity around helping people see the barriers that are out there, because I think there's a lot more talk in society about the economy and people losing jobs and people struggling with mental health. So I think there's hopefully a bit more empathy out there, and hopefully people at the club level can understand, okay, let's think about our local community. What's the sort of situation they're facing? And is there something new and different we can put on that actually just helps to, include people in a more easy way?
Barry, I suppose just moving on to that, I've attended a number of Vicsport seminars, back when we could meet face to face, and the core of that was collaboration. And I think we've got an opportunity on the back of this, as Tom was saying, to think about sport a bit differently. And it might not be the regular competition and training that we're so used to. It's about opening up opportunities for new members in a way that it might be a bit foreign to people. And Wyndham Sport and Recreation is open to that, and wants to support clubs and all those sporting associations to think about those opportunities. And I don't know what they look like just yet, but if there's any sports out there that want to work with us, and reach out, and we want to think about these new opportunities that people might be interested in.
Look, James, I think for me, we've spoken to a number of different people from sporting organisations, Tom, and the one thing that keeps coming through is friendships, connection, enjoyment, purpose. It's those type of things that a sporting club and a sporting organisation gives to people. I've said for a long time, the social capital that sporting clubs provide grossly underestimated and worth billions upon billions of dollars from a mental health perspective. I'm not sure whether there's any studies being done on that, Tom, or not, but I just know from my own self, being involved in the local footy club, the local basketball club, having been involved with cricket, netball, blah, 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 previously, that just what any sport provides to the community is enormous.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a number of studies out there that demonstrate that. And I think what an interesting challenge for sport clubs particularly is, because as much as I completely agree, I do think there's still that element at times of sort of more inward looking, like, the sport is really good. If we're at a cricket club, we all love cricket and we're all very welcoming to everyone, but sort of that understanding that we still need to promote ourselves a lot better and promote the benefits and just have that effective local area marketing in place. There was also an insight I put in one of the webinars that I just picked up looking at some of the Ozplay data that just noted the rise over the past 20 years of people that do what they call sport-related and non-sport related activities. So the number of people that are just doing sport, like, say just playing cricket at a club and that's all they do, is really shrunk over time. There's still plenty of people playing organised sport, but I think it's more common that they're perhaps a club member, but they also go to the gym or also do yoga or also do some other form of active recreation. So I think we definitely want to grow sport clubs and grow that membership base and promote that a lot better. But how can we recognise that for a lot of people, and someone like myself would be a good example, we might rejoin the club if we're not a member now, but we're probably going to keep doing something else as well. So how are those two things more complementary in the person's lifestyle?
Look, I think we could talk about sport and the role of sport in the community all day. but we are a little bit time restricted here, and we always like to, Tom, talk about the positives of what's going, what we appreciate in our lives right at the moment, and so we practice gratitude. And so, a question that we pose to all of our guests is, what are you grateful for today?
I think today I'm just going to say just the support of all my friends and family. It is a tough time in the lockdown, and like a lot of people, there's always other things that go on in your life that can be challenging at times. So I think just having great support of friends and family around me is probably something I think today I'm very grateful for.
Fantastic. That comes through loud, doesn't it, James? With a lot of our guests. Yeah,
that close connections. I think we're missing and feeling them even more so at this point in time. But Tom, what Barry and I have to do is every time we have a guest on, we are also grateful for something. And with the multiple guests that we've had on, we've been grateful for a lot of things, and there's still more things to be grateful for, isn't that right, Barry? So today, what are you grateful for?
Well, I can't believe I didn't mention this earlier in the week. Tom, I got into Lego Masters, okay? And the grand final was on Monday night, so that was a lot of fun. But what they could build was amazing, like absolutely amazing. So something small that I enjoyed. And I'm not into reality TV, as I've said before, but really enjoyed that. But probably on a bigger level, yesterday and this week we've had a bit of rain, and I love rain. I love being inside, listening to the rain, watching the rain at the window, and if I can, getting out all rugged up with the jacket, with the gloves, etc., and going for a walk in the rain. So just I've really enjoyed that recently, James and Tom. And what about you, James?
Look, in light of having Tom on today, I'm really grateful for all the webinars, all the videos, and all the content that's been compiled together from all different organisations, whether it's sport, fitness, or cooking. I know I was a part of a gnocchi webinar, make your own gnocchi at home last night. So I don't know if it turned out all that well, but look, I'm really fortunate that we've come together as a society. All the organisations have put their time and effort into providing bits of information in interactive and new ways, and for most of it, being able to access it for free. So very grateful for those opportunities, and I'm sure there'll be many more in future.
And if I can add, coming into winter, I'm also very grateful for pasta. Just as
we get the winter coat on, I think.
Yeah.
The winter layer of under the skin, but anyway, we won't go there. Tom, we were talking before we started recording that you're working from home and have been for quite a while. What are some of the things that you do to make working at home work, and cope with this social isolation? What are you doing?
Yeah, look, just trying to stick to a normal routine of still getting up a bit earlier and trying to sit down and read a book, whether it's non-fiction or a fiction, for a little while before starting work with a coffee. Sometimes I have been so busy I have had to get up and just get into it, but that's sometimes the benefit of working from home, and it's a bit hard to imagine getting up and spending an hour getting ready and doing an hour commute before you can actually start doing some work. But in terms of how I've been coping, taking the dog out every day, sometimes twice, for a walk, and in the garage we've got our table tennis table set up. My wife's very keen on table tennis, and so am I, so we've been having pretty much daily battles and collecting a weekly winners list. So I think I'm currently down 2 weeks to 3 in terms of being a champion. So that's been fun, and just keeping up the routine, trying to keep active, and look, I've had plenty of work, so there hasn't been any issue in staying busy between 9 to 5.
I love that table tennis competition that you're having with your wife. That would be great fun, and I'm sure it gets very competitive at times. Yeah,
no, it certainly does. And the good thing is I'm actually working with Table Tennis Victoria on a project at the moment, which is about engaging people who play at home and who play at work. So it's been almost perfect in saying, well, I'm almost the representative of that market at the moment.
Brilliant. No, I do love a good little session of table tennis, and no, it's one of those sports where you can just get into it, and it brings so much enjoyment, and it really doesn't matter what skill level you have. You can have a go, and I suppose that's maybe the mentality we have to have moving forward with sports: is don't worry if you can't play it to any high level. Just have a go and enjoy, and find something that you enjoy.
I think our sporting clubs in general are very good at that. They just want people to be there and have fun. Yes, we need our stars or our better players, whatever the sport may be, but they're the tip, the iceberg. They're the people that just have a go. They enjoy what they do, support the club, work around the club, and they're the real backbone, I think, of our community sport.
Most definitely. Tom, thank you for giving up your time and joining us today. I know you're a very busy man, so appreciate it. And to everyone at Vicsport, keep up the good work, and we look forward to being informed and gradually, as sport comes back online, that we can connect. And thanks again for joining us.
No worries, Barry and James. Thanks very much for having me. It was great to be part of the conversation.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, James. Thank you for joining us today. It's been great to have you. Hope you've enjoyed it. I found it really enlightening talking to Tom and finding out, sport from a sort of a state government level. It is really interesting. Have a great weekend. Stay healthy. Look after each other. And most importantly, keep smiling.